Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into Peter Thiel's 0 to 1, a book that's not just about business, but about how to create brand new things in the world. It's basically a guide for building the future. So, Thiel kicks things off with this question that seems simple on the surface, but it's actually really deep. He uses it to find people who can think for themselves. What important truth do very few people agree with you on? You see, a good answer to this is the starting point for any great new venture. And that's where this quote really hits home, because answering that question isn't just about being a genius. It's about having the guts to say something unpopular. It's easy to repeat what everyone else is saying. It's hard and brave to voice a truth that nobody else sees yet. Okay, so this whole contrarian mindset, that's really the key to the entire book. It's all about challenging the assumptions we take for granted, starting with one of the biggest myths in the business world. The first big idea we've got to bust is this. Capitalism and competition are opposites. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds completely backward, right? We're all taught that competition is what makes capitalism work. Well, Thiel says that's a destructive lie. To really get this, let's take a look at an industry that is the poster child for ruthless competition, the airline industry. I mean, they move millions of people, they create hundreds of billions of dollars in value, but the real question is, how much of that value do they actually get to keep? Get ready for this number, because it is just wild. In 2012, for every single passenger they flew, U.S. airlines made an average profit of just 37 cents. All that work, all that competition, for less than 2 quarters. It's incredible. And look at this comparison. It tells you everything you need to know. In that same year, Google, which is basically a monopoly in search, had a profit margin of over 21%. The takeaway is crystal clear. Competition is a race to the bottom, while having a monopoly lets you actually capture the value you create. Now, it's really important we're clear on what Thiel means here by monopoly. He's not talking about some evil company that illegally crushes everyone. No, he's talking about a creative monopoly, a company that is just so unique, so good at what it does that there are no close substitutes. It's in a league of its own. We're kind of taught to see the business world like this, a smooth spectrum, right? Where most companies are pretty similar, just somewhere on the line between pure competition and total monopoly. But Thiel says no, that's not how it works at all. The reality is way more black and white. You've got most companies locked in this brutal, bloody fight for survival. And then you have a very small number of monopolies that are just playing a completely different game. The difference isn't small, it's massive. So, okay, if competition is this terrible trap that just grinds down profits, then what's the escape route? How do you build a business that avoids that fate? Well, the answer is right there in the title of the book. You have to go from 0 to 1. You have to make something new. Let's break that down. Thiel talks about 2 kinds of progress. First, there's horizontal progress. That's just copying stuff that already works. Think of it like this. You have one typewriter, and you figure out how to build 100 more just like it. That's horizontal. But then, there's vertical progress. That's doing something brand new, going from the typewriter to a word processor. And if you zoom out, you can see this on a global scale. Horizontal progress is basically globalization, taking something that works in one place and spreading it everywhere. That's going from 1 to N. Vertical progress, on the other hand, is technology. And by technology, he just means any new and better way of doing things. That's the magical leap from 0 to 1. So that begs the question, right? If going from 0 to 1 is so powerful, why isn't everybody doing it? Well, Thiel's theory is that our entire way of thinking about startups is still deeply scarred by the dot-com crash back in 2000. You have to remember what the late 90s were like. It was this insane boom of technological optimism. It felt like anything was possible. Grand visions were everywhere, right up until the NASDAQ peaked. And then, the whole thing just imploded. And when that bubble burst, it left this deep scar on Silicon Valley, like a collective trauma. And out of that trauma came the set of lessons, these 4 ideas that became the absolute dogma for every startup. They were meant to be a safety manual, but Thiel argues they ended up just killing real innovation. Thiel's whole point is that we need to flip every single one of these lessons on its head. So the first dogma says to play it safe, just make tiny incremental improvements. But the truth? It's way better to risk being bold than to waste your time on something trivial. Next, the dogma says you should just stay lean. Don't have a big plan, just kind of feel your way forward. Thiel says that's nonsense. The truth is, a bad plan is better than no plan at all. You need to have a concrete vision for the future you're trying to create. The third dogma tells you to look at what competitors are doing and just try to be a little bit better. But we've already seen the truth here. Competitive markets are where profits go to die. The real goal isn't to beat the competition, it's to make them completely irrelevant. And finally, there's this romantic idea that a great product will just sell itself. The truth? Sales and distribution are every bit as important as the product itself. The best technology in the world is useless if nobody knows about it or can get their hands on it. So when you put all this together, what is really calling for is a total mindset shift. To build something that truly matters, you have to actively reject those fear-based rules from the past. You have to escape the competition trap and really embrace what he calls the monopoly mindset. And it all boils down to this single quote, which is really the soul of the entire book. He's riffing on Tolstoy here. Every successful company is successful in its own unique way, by solving a problem nobody else has. But all failed companies look the same. They just couldn't get away from the competition. And that brings us full circle, right back to where we started, but with a new lens. The challenge is not just finding some abstract truth that people disagree on. It's about finding one that can be the seed for a new business. So the final question is this: what valuable company is nobody building? Because finding the answer to that, well, that's how you go from 0 to 1.